All right, welcome in, everybody. We're diving deep today, going way back in time
Yeah.
for this one. We're going to be looking at Michel Barrera.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and if you don't know who that is, don't worry. We're going to
Yeah.
find out all about him. The FBI wants to have a little chat with him. Let's just say that
Okay.
he's wanted for some pretty serious stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got some excerpts here from Wikipedia all about him. You know, it's interesting how much information is online now.
Yeah.
And you might find yourself doing some extra Googling after this one, I think. So,
Yeah. What really draws me to this story is that he's potentially linked to another
yeah.
tragic unsolved case. So
Yeah.
we're gonna get into that, but first let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah, let's rewind. I want to know, what did he do to get in trouble in the first place?
Right. So this all starts back in 1998 in the Miami area.
Okay.
And Barrera at the time was only 18 years old. And he and an accomplice decided to rob a bank. And they ended up getting away with over $20,000.
That's, pretty bold move for an 18-year-old, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Like, most kids that age are worried about getting their driver's license.
Totally.
He's out here robbing banks.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I guess maybe he thought he was, in the clear. It was easy money because just 3 months later, they hit another bank in Miami.
What?
Yeah.
So they did it again?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But this time, things escalated very quickly. So after the robbery, there was a high-speed chase with the police.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. And during this chase, Barrera actually fired a shotgun at the pursuing officer.
Whoa.
Yeah. They ended up ditching their car, then carjacked another vehicle to get away.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's some serious stuff. Like, what were they thinking at that point, you know?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, you start with robbing a bank, which is already, pretty crazy. But then to, fire a shotgun at a police officer.
Yeah, that just shows like a whole other level of
Yeah, willingness to use violence.
Yeah, could do whatever it takes to get away.
It's a whole nother level. So.
Yeah.
So they got away with the second robbery, but what happened?
So the accomplice was caught, but Barrera disappeared. Vanished. Yeah, he managed to completely disappear. And for years, there was no trace of him.
It's kind of amazing how do you do that?
Right.
I mean, today, there's cameras everywhere. There's facial recognition. And this was,
back in the 90s.
98, yeah. But still,
it's impressive.
Yeah.
How do people...
It makes you wonder, what kind of life did they lead?
Yeah, exactly.
Always looking over your shoulder.
Having to create a new identity, probably moving around a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's almost like something you'd see in a movie.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to think about.
So we got Barrera on the run. He's managed to disappear. But then in 2007, there's this case, the Randy Gorenberg case.
Right.
Can you remind us about that?
Yeah, so Randy Gorenberg was a 52-year-old woman, and she was kidnapped from a mall in Boca Raton, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. And very tragically, her body was found later. She had been shot, and she was dumped from her own car.
So, and this is where Barrera comes back into the picture.
Exactly. So, the Wikipedia article doesn't give us, all the specific details,
right.
But he became a person of interest in this case. And this is, almost a decade after he initially disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. Bank robberies, okay.
Right.
But now we're talking, potential kidnapping and murder.
Yeah.
So what made them think that he might be connected to this?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I said, the sources we have don't really go into detail about what evidence might link him to this case.
Yeah. But it definitely raises some questions, right?
Yeah, sure.
What could have possibly connected him, this fugitive, to this tragic incident?
Yeah, it seems like there's going to be some layers to this story. Right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that makes this even more complex is an informant suggested that Gorenberg's murder might actually be connected to gang activity.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And
remember, Barrera has ties to the MS-13 gang.
Oh, okay. So now we got a fugitive, we got a potential murder, and we got a possible gang connection.
Exactly.
This is getting very interesting.
Yeah, it's a wild one.
Yeah.
It really is.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and unravel some more of this crazy story.
Sounds good. Yeah, it really makes you wonder, how deep does this go?
Right. Was he acting alone, or was this, a hit ordered by the gang?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So many possibilities.
Yeah. Well, if there was a gang connection, why hasn't he been caught? I mean, you think the authorities would be, like, all over this.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But remember, Barrera, he's already proven that he can disappear.
Right.
He evaded capture for, almost a decade after those bank robberies and that shooting. Seems like he's pretty good at staying off the radar.
I mean, yeah, but still for that long.
It's not easy.
It's got to be like, what, changing your appearance, using fake names, always moving around.
Right. You got to cut off contact with everyone you know.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of cunning, a lot of resourcefulness.
Yeah.
It seems like Barrera has that, though.
So, I mean, he's living this, like, double life. But how's he supporting himself all those years? Was he, like, still involved in criminal stuff?
Well, the sources we have don't really give a clear answer on that.
Okay.
It's definitely possible he continued with, illegal activities to fund his life on the run.
Right.
But we're just speculating there.
Yeah. Okay. But here's something we do know. He was featured on America's Most Wanted, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that was a big deal back then.
Huge. America's Most Wanted was like a major tool for law enforcement. I mean, it brought these cases into millions of homes.
Yeah.
It turned everyday people into, like, potential informants.
Oh, I remember that show, yeah.
Yeah, it had a pretty impressive track record of helping catch fugitives.
So did the show lead to any breaks in Barrera's case?
Unfortunately, not that we know of.
Really?
Yeah, even after being featured multiple times, he remained elusive.
He must have been watching, right?
Probably.
Like, oh, they're looking for me. Better be more careful.
Yeah, keeping one step ahead.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
So where does that leave us? Do we know, like, anything about where Barrera is today?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
As far as our sources tell us, he's still out there somewhere.
Still on the run after all these years.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's kind of unsettling, to think that he could be, like, anywhere.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What can we take away from Barrera's story then?
Well, I think it's a reminder that even in this, age of technology and surveillance and everything, people
Right.
can still just, like, vanish.
Yeah.
It says something about, human adaptability and survival, even when the odds are completely stacked against you.
And I guess it makes you think about the kind of life he's been living too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, is he constantly looking over his shoulder? Can he ever really escape what he's done?
I mean, those are questions only Barrera can answer, really.
Yeah.
Until he's caught. I guess his story remains a mystery.
Well, this has been quite a deep dive.
Yeah.
I mean, from bank robberies to high-speed chases to a possible murder. I mean, Barrera's story is full of, like, twists and turns.
It really is.
And the fact that he's still out there just makes it even more intriguing.
Absolutely. It really makes you think, what kind of life has he built for himself? Like, has he created a whole new identity, or is he, like you said, constantly haunted by his past?
We talked about the impact on him. But what about, like, the victims and their families?
Oh, absolutely. That's a crucial point.
Especially in a case like Randy Gorenberg's,
Mm-hmm.
where there's still so many unanswered questions.
Yeah, I mean, the impact of these crimes goes way beyond just the immediate victims.
Right.
Families are left dealing with the loss and the uncertainty and wondering if they'll ever get any closure.
Yeah.
And when a suspect is still out there, that just, like, adds to the unease,
It's got to be tough.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that these aren't just, like, stories, they're real lives that have been affected by this.
For sure.
Yeah. But let's shift gears a bit and go back to the Gorenberg case for a second. I mean, that's, like, the most intriguing part of this whole thing.
Definitely.
And I'm still trying to, like, wrap my head around Barrera's potential involvement.
Yeah, it's a puzzle.
Yeah.
We have these pieces of information, these potential links, but we don't have the full picture.
Right.
It's the kind of case that keeps investigators up at night,
Yeah, for sure.
trying to put all the pieces together.
Yeah, it really is like watching one of those, true crime documentaries.
Totally.
Where they give you all this evidence,
Yeah,
but they're always missing, like, that one key piece.
exactly. And that missing piece usually just creates even more questions.
Right.
In Barrera's case, it's like, what was his actual role in the Gorenberg case?
Right.
Was he acting alone? Maybe he was desperate, he's on the run, needed money.
Right.
Or was it something more organized? Was the gang involved?
Yeah.
I mean, that informant's tip about gang activity definitely makes things a lot more complicated.
It really does. And it makes you think about how tough it must be for the investigators.
Oh, absolutely.
You get a fugitive, potential ties to a gang.
It's not an easy case.
Yeah. Where do you even begin with something like that?
Right. I mean, they got to go through tons of information, follow leads that probably go nowhere.
Yeah.
And they got to deal with, the whole gang world, which is dangerous.
Yeah.
All while trying to build a solid case.
Right. And this wasn't like yesterday.
Exactly. It happened years ago.
So witnesses might have moved. Their memories might be fuzzy.
Yeah, evidence could be gone.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot to deal with.
And it makes me think about the motive, too.
Oh, the motive, yeah.
If Barrera was involved, why? Was it just about money? Or was there something else going on?
I mean, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
The Wikipedia article, unfortunately, doesn't really say anything about motives.
Right.
So we can guess, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he needed Crash, like you said. Maybe the gang made him do it. Or maybe there's a connection we haven't even thought of.
It's wild how one case can have so many possibilities.
The power of a good mystery. Right? Even with just a little bit of information, we try to fill in those gaps, come up with stories.
Right.
It's what makes true crime so interesting.
For sure. Well, you've definitely given our listeners a lot to think about today.
I hope so.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I think the big thing to remember is that even now, with all the information out there are still mysteries out there,
Yeah.
And Barrera's story really shows that. The past doesn't just go away. There are questions without answers.
Right.
And sometimes the best stories are the ones that leave us wanting more.
Well said. So to all our listeners out there, what do you think about Barrera? What are your theories about the Gorenberg case? Maybe you'll find something we missed. Until next time, keep those minds working, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.